Witch of Moon's Lane presents
How to Witch, bitch.
Welcome to another episode of How to Witch Bitch. Michelle, the Witch of Moon's Lane, episode 14.
Wow.
Jessie has said that she loves these episodes, which is nice.
Great.
Looking at Jessie's photo, I think I went to uni with her, so maybe she's biased. But anyway, the Australian Warlock.
Yes.
That sounds fancy. Giving us a high five or clap your hands.
I think he's from Melbourne.
Is he?
Yep.
Deb, loving the series. Avalon says she would like to find some perfume on your site and it's not there anymore.
Oh, yes. So it was out of stock. So I've restocked.
Okay.
And if you want to go on to moonslane.com.au, you can actually look at that from there.
Fabulous. Now, in our last episode, we were talking about dreams and how the reoccurring dreams and dreaming the same thing over and over again. A lot of that could be our subconscious. A lot of that could be messages. Mm-hmm. What are your experiences with dreams? Have people had dreams that have come true or reoccurring dreams?
Yes, definitely. I myself, when I was 5, every time I used to face the wall, I would feel, like as I was going to sleep, like a steamroller had run me over. Like I'd feel everything. It was really weird. It didn't hurt, but it was like a numbing sensation.
Wow.
And I could even see the steamroller and I could even see who I was. And I was a gentleman that was bald because I was a man and I was bald. And, yeah, I had little stubby sort of things. I was around about the 1900s. It was an old-fashioned steamroller. And it just happened all the time. And I really believe that was my last life. I wasn't Cleopatra. I wasn't anything. I was just a middle-aged bloke that just should have looked out for the bulldozer.
And you got hit by a bulldozer or a steamroller?
A steamroller. It just...
That's a very slow death.
Yeah.
Like
and I could feel it too. And it was really bizarre.
Does that still happen now?
Oh, maybe I was murdered. It's probably likely that's what happened to me, but I can only envision all the memory. And this reoccurred for years and years and years. And it was always when I faced the wall, to the point that then I had to face the other way. So I actually did some investigating for that. And back in the early 1900s, there was a man who was killed that way through a steamroller.
This is, yes.
So past lives are really cool in the fact that have you ever seen Yesterday's Children?
No.
So this is about a woman, I think it was played by, she used to be the medicine woman. What was her name?
Jane Seymour.
Yeah, Jane Seymour.
Yeah.
So she plays this
Quinn.
character, Dr. Quinn.
Sorry.
Oh, no. What was that? He was a bit of a hottie, wasn't he?
I don't think I ever watched it.
Yeah, the half Indian man that she shacked up with back then. Oh, yeah. Hello.
Back to the point, Michelle. Back in the room. All right. Yeah.
So she was as a little girl. She always envisioned. She was in the US, and she always envisioned a place in Ireland. And she would see this place, and she felt that she had children that she'd left behind. And she always, as she drew the actual church, she drew the street. And, this went on for a long, long time. And then finally, when she got a little bit older, she looked it up, and she actually looked up this particular place in Ireland, and she went there. Her 2 children and her husband followed her because she was a lot older, and she found, believe it or not, one of the children, Sonny, and she described remembering she was pregnant, remembering her. She didn't remember her name. She remembered a friend's name that he actually said, yes, that was it. She remembered the butcher. So this whole town. And so if you look at it, it's Yesterday's Children, but there's also many documents. There was even one kid that came up and he remembered the town he was in, and he actually solved his own murder.
What?
I know. It's really crazy. So a lot of people go, oh, they'll poo-poo, but there's just too many reoccurring
it is a
things.
constant thing I've heard about kids saying about where they grew up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, intricate details of things.
Yeah.
So that's past lives.
Yeah, and they're doing more and more into that. And you usually find the ones that are remembering are usually people that have jumped back in. So they might have, not been on the other side for very long before they jump back into another body. So therefore they may not have reset. So they remember some of it, because we sort of don't remember. We come in with this bit of amnesia. So it's almost like we don't remember because there's certain, things that we need to learn. And maybe if we've already sort of learnt it in another life, we may not want to learn it again because we think to ourselves it's like repeating year 11. Who wants to repeat year 11? Yeah. So they kind of wipe it, so you go, oh, this is all new again, but no, it's not.
So back to the bald guy with the steamroller.
That was me. So I always knew from a very young age, because that was happening when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, probably 8, 9. I just remember every time I faced the wall, I would have this dream and I'd feel the steamroller. And all I can remember was looking and seeing the steamroller and then feeling it and then just sort of looking down and seeing what I looked like. So I don't know if it was a murder, but it sounds like it probably wasn't. Either that or work and safety was
health and safety was not good.
Where the hell was my hard hat?
Exactly.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah. Not that your head would have popped like an egg anyway. That's okay.
Yeah, but I always knew I had 4 kids for some reason as well, wasn't it? Which is interesting because this life I have 4 kids.
So when you looked at Baldy, the guy, when you researched it, did you find out about his family?
No, I just found out about went and just researched where it was. It was in the UK, and that had there been any accident, there was nothing really on it because I guess they don't have documents.
No.
But they did say that there was a case in this particular place where there was an accident. They said accident, so I don't know if. But I remember it was a yellow. I even see it. It's a yellow one. It's like an old original 1900s, one of the very first ones, and it was yellow.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I guess that's a lot of things for a lot of the past lives is very, very interesting. And a lot of the time, how do you, when you're doing it, so do you do past life regression with people? Or do, what do you do? How do you figure out people's past lives?
Okay, so for me, I just do a little bit of hypnosis with them and sort of take them through that. But before you even do that, a real easy way to do it, and we've done this on air too because we don't have time to sit there and do, taking them through, counting back, is what is a fear or a phobia? Because normally a fear or a phobia is not from this life. If you think, oh well, I haven't drowned, I haven't had a time where I've nearly drowned, then where does that come from? Why do you suddenly frightened of a body of water, or maybe it's a pool that you're afraid of? So obviously there's something has happened in a past life where you've possibly drowned. Other people have a fear of heights. Why are you frightened of heights? Did you fall out of the sky?
Yeah.
Did you have a parachute accident? Did you fall off a cliff? I don't know.
I can't have my neck touched around my neck, as if just like around the actual base. I can't handle anything around my neck up high.
Which means you were probably strangled or something's happened with that.
I always thought I was hung for some reason.
Oh, hung? Yeah, well, you're probably next to me.
Yeah,
hey, boy.
Not again, mate.
Not in the podcast next time.
Catch you later, mate, in the podcast. It does make sense, though, because
have you found that nipple yet?
No, I haven't found my third nipple. If you haven't heard episode 13, apparently every witch has a third nipple.
Which could be a mole or a skin
I've got a mole on my back.
In line with your breasts? It is too, isn't it?
Yes. Actually, it is. I had to check then. I mean, when I was younger, it was a lot higher. Actually, no, it is quite a pronounced mole in the middle of my back.
There we go. Which will look like a nipple.
Yeah, I guess it does look like a nipple. So what does that mean? Does that mean I'm a witch?
You're a witch.
I'm a witch.
You're a witch. We all know that. You just, you're having an identity crisis.
I'm learning how to witch bitch. All right, so past lives, what are the regular things? I mean, I know that everyone always thinks they were famous, like you said before, Cleopatra, blah, blah, blah.
I've met 3 Cleopatras.
Have you really?
Somebody doesn't know.
When they come to you to ask about their past lives, do people have a preconceived notion of who they are and therefore they just believe that? Or so you were saying earlier you were going to do a bit of hypnotherapy, find out fears, blah, 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 blah. Is it literally, I mean, are there people who, well, there has to be someone who was that person, but why do so many people think they're Cleopatra or think that they want to be grandeur? They don't want to be Stacey from Accounts.
Because there's a lot of narcissistic people in the world as well. And maybe if they've got a boring old life now, they think, well, there must have been something special in my last life. But most of us aren't. Most of us, all of us here, you're going to pass away. Not all of us are going to be, Joan of Arc, James Cook, someone that's special. But it's more about, for me, as long as I was laughing too, is I feel like a lot of, and this is probably going to get me in trouble, but transgender people could very much be that they are actually correct when they come through, and we say it's body dysmorphia or whatever it is, but I do believe that if you have been a male in a last life and you do come back quickly, then that's part of your identity could still be there, that when you're young you are saying, oh, I don't feel like I'm a female or a male, especially if you're come back as a man and you remember children or remember bearing children in a last life. There could be some sort of identity problem there. So,
and also genius children as well, like kids who can play the piano.
Right.
At the age of 3.
Right.
That's not normal.
Prodigies.
That's not normal,
Yeah, was it
guys.
Amadeus?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's that you still carry over.
A memory.
Yeah. And I guess for many people that does help them figure themselves out a little bit more as well.
So another thing too that is interesting about music, just going back to music, and this is totally off track but kind of similar, is that when you have Alzheimer's or when you actually you can't remember anyone, you can't remember some words, but if somebody plays music, suddenly you're singing, remembering words and that. So I sort of look at that. Somewhere in the recesses of where we've forgotten from the past, there is still semblance there that it can be brought forward. And so that's kind of how I would look at past life. It is there somewhere. We just got to get to it.
Certain pieces of music, though, certain types of music, bagpipes for a lot of people would be something that there has to be a reason why. I mean, bagpipes are beautiful, fantastic, but you could get 10 people in a room and 2 of them will start crying when Amazing Grace gets played. And
that's right.
The other 3 will be like, okay, that's enough. Thanks, Gary. But it does instill emotion into you, and that could obviously be coming from your past life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But also too with past lives, I often think of it like, for me, I love my history buff. I love history. But there are certain parts of history that I just love. Like,
yes.
I feel that if I was anywhere, I would have been in Egypt, which is interesting because that doesn't correlate with my last life.
No.
But my last life obviously was only in the 1900s, which still doesn't mean that I wasn't somewhere. I certainly wasn't Cleopatra at all because I wouldn't have been doing that. But I'm sure I would have been one of those,
You'd have been a slave.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Working away.
Yeah.
Building your things.
I would have been one of the aliens hookers.
I don't even know what that means.
Okay, because that goes back to the Sumerian where they fiddle with our DNA.
Man,
okay, so that's
just
another.
That's
a whole nother.
Witch, just stick to being a witch, okay?
All right. But no, I do believe that I would have been a scribe. I think that's something I really would have loved. You would have been a scribe, I think, because you love anything to do with history and writing and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I've always felt that that's something that I would have been. And then the other thing that I really liked is probably around about the 1700s, so something along there. I know I was around there. So it depends on have you gone across and done lessons on the other side for a certain amount, or is it a case of you came back straight away, which I do believe is the ones that come back straight away have more memory of who they were. So therefore they are the ones that you go, oh my goodness, we can trace this person. I mean, that little boy that got his killer. I mean, that's crazy.
Actually, let's do that in the next episode. Let's find some amazing stories about that because that will actually also help other
well, it's documented.
Documented as well. All right, ghost hunting.
Yes.
So you are a ghost hunter as well?
I love ghost hunting. So for me with clearing, though, it's usually about clearing residual energy, especially if there's been a divorce or they've moved into a new home and there's been, a lot of, different people that they don't know, a lot of energies there. I think we were talking about before how walls are recorders,
Yep.
So, there are hauntings that are haunters, but they're like on a recording. So then there is also actual hauntings where it is active. So that means you can actually sort of talk to that particular person. So I went to Glengallen. So I did that at last year, I think that was. And so while I was there, they and that was in around about midnight, and they put like a so I couldn't see, and then they put so I couldn't hear, and they put me in a place where there is a lot of activity, and so. Somebody was asking the ghost to touch my right shoulder or to touch here or whatever, and I had to sort of discuss what I was feeling. And so she would say, touch her on the right, and I was saying, I can feel somebody here, and they were touching me, and I could actually feel that. Now, that's freaky. That's like a pulse of electricity where they actually touch you, so you know you're there. Now, you've got to stay as calm as anything because they can't hurt you. They can't hurt you at all.
Why do we think that ghosts can hurt us?
Probably
the movies.
Hollywood and movies. I mean, they can make you feel a certain way and scared and all of that. That's right. And I mean, even a cat, like if a cat jumps out in front of you, it scares you. So the last thing you want is, like people sort of moving things around. It's just the fear of the unknown. But they can't actually physically hurt you.
Have you ever conversed with a ghost?
Yes.
And?
Yes, and that's what I was talking about. So I was there and I heard my name and I said, they've said Michelle. So I heard my name, so they said my name. They also, you could touch them, like they come in and they touch different. So she was saying, we'll have to bring it up. I've actually got I've got a recording of it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so it shows you where she says, I'll touch her here or touch there. Now, when I said Michelle, my name, this is really freaky. There was another girl that was standing around. So there was a whole heap there was a circle and they were all around me watching this particular experiment. Now, her name was Michelle as well, and I couldn't see. So when I said they say my name, Michelle, she actually walked in front of me. So it wasn't my name they were calling. They were calling her name to say she was walking in front. And so when we were there, they were saying, oh, how did this person pass away? And so I didn't know the history of it. And I said, and I just turned around and I just saw someone go over the railing. Yeah. And I said, someone's just gone over the railing. And that's how one of them actually did pass. So, yeah, and you can see the type of stuff that they've gotten now is they can actually pick up the energy. So you can see where there's energy going and it looks like a person, but it's just an energy. But it's actually not there because you're looking going, it's not there, but it's been picked up. So it's kind of like how we numpties decided to do the remember that? We went down and we decided to do that Tesla. Yes. But it didn't really work. The only one we picked up was Ben.
Drove a Tesla to a cemetery.
I don't think his one worked. I think we need another one.
I think, maybe we need our own Tesla. We are looking for sponsorship. No. The ghost hunting stuff is really fascinating because it's obviously something that a lot, you do associate with witchcraft. Not really, but it's along the same realm, I guess, as well. Most scary experience you've had with a ghost?
Probably I did have one that used to wake me up. Funny enough, when we were talking about that thing before, did used to wake me up around about 5 o'clock every morning. They'd shake the bed. And so my bed would actually shake. So I don't know if you ever had this, but the bed actually shakes.
Oh, gosh.
So that's been pretty scary. I've also there has been another thing that actually did scare me. So I did have a friend many, many years ago who used to have a recurring dream and she said, stay over one night and I'll show you. And this was a lost soul that was attached to her. So it was actually an entity of somebody that had passed that had attached themselves to her. Now, that was really scary because we were at night. So I think, have you ever heard of sleep paralysis? Yes. When you're paralyzed in your sleep?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was basically I was in bed with her and all of a sudden I was trying to scream because I could feel like whatever it was trying to take me or grab me up and I was trying to scream. She was trying to scream and all I remember is I just flipped up and flipped over and stopped it. But obviously it was trying to get to her and because I was there I could protect it. But that freaked me out. So that was probably the scariest thing that's ever happened to me because normally with ghosts I don't really care. I mean, they feed on ghosts. Everything feeds on fear. So if you give it fear, the more fear you give it, the more that they can scare you. So I have no fear of that. I can go anywhere and not be frightened. That doesn't scare me. But that actually did frighten me.
What do you think it was wanting or what was it doing?
Well, it was a lost soul, so it just wanted to – well, that's the only thing I can think of what it wanted. It obviously wanted to reside with her. So there has been so it goes into your aura or into your space and just follows you around everywhere.
That's for another day.
For another day.
For another day?
That's a bit scary. Yeah, but that's the only thing that really did scare me. Although after that she said it never did actually contact her again.
I was scared of you. You scared the hell out of it.
I scared the hell out of me.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Michelle. Had a witch bitch. Leave us a comment, write us a review. We'd love that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Woodwork Podcasts.